What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're a new subscriber, hey, I'm Munodiwa and this is Casa Chaps, where we talk all things home to interior design and everything in between. If you're a returning subscriber, what's good? In today's video, we're going to be talking about all the tips and tricks which I've come to learn, as well as others which I researched on how to make DIYing, renovation, remodeling easier for you and your partner, especially on the relationship side of things. How can you survive a remodel? How can you survive a renovation, without burning the whole thing up and divorcing on the way? So let's get right into it. Over the last few months and years, Nigel and I have been doing a number of projects together for home design and home improvement stuff. And what I've noticed is that these kind of projects really do take a toll on the relationship, right? There are a number of reasons why this is so. Firstly, there are a lot of decisions to be made, so you guys have to align with those first, as well as in the process things go wrong and blaming can start happening. And also, if you're doing a major remodel, you don't have that kind of place where you can enjoy your relationship, and so having that taken away from people can also cause tension. So the very first thing that you can do, which is our number one, is to look for inspiration. So you want to start your bathroom remodel, you want to start your kitchen remodel, but you don't know how your partner is going to take it, right? So the first step before you go further is to compile all the inspiration that you can come up with, all the decisions that you'd like to take, have them on paper, visualize them. This is where working with an interior designer, aka me, comes in, because what I do is I make sure that if I'm working with one partner before they have the other partner on board, we really try to bring out all the ideas on paper so that the person has a sound board to make those decisions on, right? So you want to show that visually. And come to think of it, let's say for example you fell in love with a black kitchen. This is something unconventional. This is something you probably saw on your Pinterest feed or on your Instagram feed, and after a while the idea warmed up to you until you were like, you know what, actually that's up my alley, right? And then here you are, you walk to your husband, you walk to your boyfriend or your partner, and you're like, I want a black kitchen, and they look at you with not so excited eyes, and they think you're going crazy. And then you think, oh, this person is not so considerate. But actually, for you, this idea warmed up to you, right? It took a while. You really saw a lot of options, and then you were like, you know what, I think I like this. So likewise, you really need to compile all the visualization and all the details, and then armed with these things, you start that conversation with your partner. I promise you, you will spend less time explaining when you can simply show things. Because imagine trying to say, yeah, but on this corner, I want a Mediterranean tile. And he's like, what's a Mediterranean tile, right? So visualize, visualize, visualize. This is the first step. And most importantly, give your partner time to warm up to the idea, Show them one version today, another version tomorrow. And before you know it, in a week's, month's time, they might actually think, yeah, you're right. And if it's a remodel and you're remodeling because there are things that are really painful or things that are really disrupting your flow or disrupting your routine, then you can point those out. Like, look, this arrangement clearly doesn't work because of A, B, C, D. So really have your facts right and have, most importantly, the visuals. What can you use as visuals? Well, you can use photos. You can also use a mood board to really communicate and hone in what you're trying to do. And most importantly, use the floor plan. Because for someone to be able to visualize what things look like, they also have to be able to visualize where those things will be. So a floor plan is equally important. Now let's move on to the next point. Your partner is on board, they're equally excited or maybe not so excited, but they're on board, and that's what's important. It's now time to talk about money, because this is the most important part of any project, whether your partner is on board or not on board. So discuss all the money details. Prepare a project budget, write down all the things that you will need to purchase, calculate how much they will cost, know how much the labor will cost you for the remodel, for the renovation, and have the numbers right. Once you have the set amount or the set budget, then you need to keep in mind that you perhaps have to have even at least 25% of the total to take care of any unexpected expenses which may arise. And trust me, they usually arise. And there's nothing that's really annoying like having your partner on board, everything is going smoothly, and then you have to go and discuss because all of a sudden you need an extra 5k, and then it's really like, I told you we didn't need that. So to avoid all of these, budget, have the numbers right, and then have an emergency fund, or so to say. And I can attest to these unexpected expenses because when I started this whole home improvement thing, we used to have like a budget of 500, but trust me, in reality, it really ended up being a lot more. So whatever your budget is, it can be way lower than that, which is also fine. We all have different starting points. What's important is that you're both on board, because for one person, it might be okay to spend 500 on a wall, but for another person, that might be too much. So strike that balance, and before you start or before you commence, be on the same page. Let's move on to the next point, which is, okay, great, we have our monies right, but what happens if we just don't agree? Well, to this, I would say choose your battles, right? Not every little decision has to be a win. And actually, when you think about it, it's not about winning because you're both on the same team, right? You're going to be enjoying the fruits of this labor. You're going to be enjoying this new bathroom or this new kitchen or this new bedroom, right? You're both going to be enjoying it. So you're both on the same team, and hopefully you are all after the same thing. So choose your battles, have things that you're deeply passionate about, and then have things that you're willing to let go. So that, in times when those things that you're deeply passionate about rise up, then you can really stand your ground. And if your partner is understanding, they'll also come to realize that, wait, she actually didn't fight for everything. I also had my way, so let her also have her way. So that way, you work together, choose your battles, don't fight about everything. And most importantly, when it comes to some decisions where you really don't like something, sometimes you might say, okay, let's meet each other in the middle. I don't think that's a good idea because, for example, if I want a black kitchen and my husband wants a white kitchen, the middle means it's a gray kitchen. But if we get a gray kitchen, then we are both not, into this kitchen. We both find it ugly. So at the end of the day, it's better when one person is happy in the relationship because the other person hopefully will eventually warm up to it, or at least appreciate that, hey, my partner is happy about that. That's okay. Than, having a color which you both hate and you're very annoyed each time you have to walk into this room and you're reminded that, I really didn't want this room. In fact, I didn't want the entire renovation. So this is my advice. Next is the communicating part of things. And this is something that I keep on having to learn. I somehow can't learn this lesson enough. But whatever hiccups arise, whatever unexpected changes arise, whatever new expense comes up, always communicate it on time, right? You don't want to wait. Sometimes you're like, I think it will balance out because if I pay for this is going to be cheaper. So in the end, no, don't do that. Because in the end, you have an excess of expenses and you didn't communicate it early enough, and yet you knew 2 weeks ago. So the story is not going to sound good. And another tip to remember is don't shoot the messenger, right? All I am doing is notifying my partner that, hey, we agreed to do this renovation together, and unfortunately, the contractor said that this is going to be $500 more expensive. It's not my fault, okay? I'm just communicating the message. But together, you guys then figure out a solution because remember, you're on the same team. If you're renovating the entire place, or if you're renovating the living room or the bedroom, that place of refuge that you once had to spend time together is all of a sudden not there. So a partner can feel neglected. So a good thing is to have a dedicated place of refuge still. Even if it means you're renovating the whole place from top to bottom, have somewhere where you can spend time together, where somehow things are still feeling normal, and where you can be yourself and relax after a long day, perhaps, of making decisions and spending money and working and all these things that might be frustrating and just complicating life. So remember that you're going to need a place where it's going to ground you and where it's going to refresh you at the same time, so that when you're ready for the next day, you are really going to give it your best. The next tip might sound a little bit obvious, but sometimes in the heat of the moment, you actually realize that you forgot to do this, and that is to celebrate, to take before and after photos or before and after videos. It doesn't need to be for social media, it doesn't have to be posted anywhere, but it has to be for yourself, for you to see where you came from and where you are now, just to see that difference. And also when you're finally done, to be like, hey, we actually did this, we nailed this, and now we have this beautiful space to enjoy. So celebrate, no matter how small or how big. If there's a successful installation for the geyser or for the bathroom, celebrate it. Successful installation for tiles, celebrate it, because hey, anything could have happened, right? Perhaps the tiles would have been back ordered and you wouldn't have been able to do that installation. But because everything has been working so smoothly, it deserves to be celebrated. Again, this might sound a little bit obvious, but it's important to have fun. Whatever you do, make it be fun, or else there's no point doing it. Of course, there are times when things can be stressful, but let it be fun. Always remind yourself, hey, if it isn't fun, then it's not worth doing, right? So I also have to learn this myself during my content creation process, during my working process. I always have to tell myself, you're only doing this because it's fun. If it's not fun, then don't do it. This is a big one, but sometimes, especially if the renovation is really big, you just need to take time off to recoup, to feel sane, to be away from the dust, and just be yourselves, right? Enjoy a different space. So take as much time as you can together, away, or with other people that you would like to spend time with. But don't, close yourself up because you're in the middle of this whole renovation. We're not going to do anything. We're not going to go away. It doesn't make sense. We're needed here. All these logical reasons. But actually, sometimes the chaotic and fun and spontaneous decisions are the ones that rejuvenate us and are the ones that you might be needing. Someone who's like, I get the need, but I'm just not too sure. Well, firstly, you have to know that you have to be willing to really put in the work. And you have to be willing to do a lot of the heavy lifting, but more on that later. The first step is to really ask leading questions so that you can really get their input. And not just, oh, do you like this, or do you not like this, or should I pick this sofa, and what do you think about this color? Rather, you want to ask questions such as, what do you think about this arrangement? Do you think this arrangement would create more space? Hear their input. I'd like to change our living room arrangement to this. Is there something that you'd like me to include? Or how do you feel about this? Is there something that I left out? Is this going to create more space, or do you think it's going to consume more space? Hearing their input is actually very important, because if they're sharing the space with you, then they also have some valuable insights of how they experience the space. And so hearing their input is also going to reinforce why you need to make that decision. Perhaps they're going to air out some points that you hadn't thought of. Perhaps they'll tell you, oh, yes, that could work, but actually, maybe you have to consider this and this and that. And then, together with their input, be willing to troubleshoot together. Remember, you're on the same team. It's not about putting the other person down. So, troubleshoot together, look for the best solution for your space together, and hopefully you get them on board. As I mentioned earlier, you have to be willing to do most of the heavy lifting, right? So when I had to do the picture frame molding for our old apartment, Nigel wasn't really into it. Even though he was interested in it, I also saw that it was perhaps better if when he was busy with work, that I would also be busy with the wall, because I had more interest in it. What was more important was we were on the same page and we knew what we wanted to achieve, and I could then take it as fast as I wanted to, rather than waiting for him to come back from work and he's tired and he wants to eat first, and I think he's dragging time, and then we end up bickering, and then the evening is spoiled. So be willing to paint a little bit more than you would have had the partner been helpful, but just remember the end goal, that you actually want to achieve this space, and as long as you have a green light from your partner, then do the heavy lifting. Lastly, If your partner is really skeptical, another thing that helps is providing evidence that, hey, look, we actually got this, right? So let's say you want to make over your living room. You should really outline all the steps that are needed until you've reached your end goal, along with the budget. What do you need to do? What do you need to buy? When do you need to buy it? Where do you have to buy it? In which quantities? How is this tile going to look? Is it going to be adjacent to the current flow, or is it going to be along the current flow? How is everything going to come up together along with the mood board? You really treat it like you're going for a boardroom meeting. Have all your things with you so that you can make sure that you have all the balls lined in your favor, and the only thing that your partner has to do is say yes, because you're that good at convincing. And so with these tips, I hope that the next project that you undertake with your partner is going to be smooth sailing and everything is going to go as planned. Remember guys, if you have any questions, my DMs are open, and most importantly, you can always comment down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. Catch you in the next one.